Welcome to the Do Life Well podcast. Join your host, Gavin Merwin, and his guests as they explore the nature of doing life well. Now, let's dive in.
Well, welcome back to another episode of the Do Life Well podcast. I'm your host, Gavin Merwin. Today, I'm super excited to be joined by Mr. Tim Dame, who I will let him introduce himself here in a second. But today's episode is titled, The Tax Talk You've Been Avoiding But Shouldn't. So we're getting into the tax time of the year, so I thought it'd be a fun topic to kind of talk through taxes for everyday people, and hopefully at the end of this episode, you'll have learned some things that you can use. But one, thank you for being here.
Glad to.
Thank you. And then take a second, introduce yourself, tell a little bit of your story, and then we can dive into some topics.
Okay. I'm Tim Dame. I'm a CPA in Valdosta. Been practicing 43 years.
Wow.
Graduated from college at a fairly young age, and my dad says, "Time to go to work, brother." And I was very fortunate to go to work for a firm that in 5 years you could get 10 or 15 years worth of training.
Wow.
And so I graduated from Valdosta State College and then ended up in Macon and Albany, Georgia. But the opportunity presented itself to come back home and South Georgia. Woohoo! So that worked out pretty good. But it is funny to me because your opening line was, "I'm excited to have Tim Dame here." There are not many people excited to have an accountant around. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
Yeah. We over the years we've done some fraud work, and it made me think of something. We were in federal court, and I was testifying one afternoon, and then the very next morning they seated the jury and put me back on the witness stand, and the judge said, "Before we get going now, if any of y'all fall asleep today, whenever Mr. Dame present his testimony, I'm gonna call you out." So that's kind of the respect we get at times.
Yeah, that's right. I mean? That's right. So, well, we've got a task in front of us then to make this topic fun.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, you got a tall task, brother. You know what I mean?
I love that.
But again, Valdosta native, and ended up finding my way back there. And we, our firm is Dame Walker Hardeman. There's Michael Walker's a partner. Craig Hardeman, Nashville native, so we do employ these international people, Berrien County.
There you go.
And then Susan Swader practices with us. That was a recent move, which brought a lot of class to the place.
Wonderful.
She and her daughter came, and they're incredibly sharp. Clients love them. And we thought we had set the bar very high on just personal relationships with clients.
Sure.
And then when Susan came in, it just took it to a whole new level. I mean, she's a sister to some, she's a mom to some,
sure.
She's a daughter to some, and a friend to all. And so, but that's my background practicing in Valdosta, Georgia now.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you said 42 years?
43.
43. You said you've been married 42.
That's right.
So she's been with you the whole ride.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of people. I'm a believer, but I played the game for years and years and years.
Sure.
And as a young adult, as a dad, I actually was saved. But I do have friends, ironically, that in high school were praying for their spouses. God, bring me a spouse.
Sure.
Bring me a godly woman.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people ask me, "Well, how'd you end up being an accounting major?" And it's pretty deep. My wife was and is hot, and she was an accounting major.
I love that.
So I became an accounting major.
Yes. So she's responsible for the accounting.
That's right. And at some point, she veered off and did something else.
I love that.
But I was too deep. I was in. And so if you ever think the Lord doesn't have a sense of humor, you don't know Him.
I love that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I love that.
But God bless her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Bless all our wives.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We all marry over our heads, that's for sure.
That's it.
But we have 5 kids. They're all grown. One, I think I mentioned to you earlier, had gone through a lot of college and said, this just isn't for me. And I'm like, I get it.
Sure.
I get it. But very talented. But we get him gainfully employed in the right spot.
Sure.
We will have raised them. And it's been a success job, despite mom and dad.
No, there you go. Yeah, because of.
That's right. That's right. So, no, man. But,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you again. Thanks for being here.
Glad to.
Yes, sir. So first topic I had down, and like we said before, we can bounce around, but
right.
the big, beautiful bill, right? That's a lot of tax changes that I've heard are coming.
Yeah.
Wondering how much is news, headlines, and how much of it is actual. I know a lot of people, this will air February 1st. Obviously, we recorded it before then.
Yeah.
People are just getting their W-2s. They're about to start filing their taxes. I know everybody's fixing to find out what's changed, if anything.
That's right.
But from your perspective, kind of talk us through for the everyday person that's doing their taxes, what should they know about this?
Well, every time they pass a tax law, this is one of the few that doesn't have the word simplification in it.
Okay.
I looked this up the other day because I was just interested.
Sure.
And the King James Version of the Bible has 785,000 words, and the IRS code and law and regs about 10 million.
Wow.
So it's just completely ridiculous.
Sure, yeah.
It's crazy. So, and the good news is for most taxpayers, it's very, very straightforward.
Yeah.
We take tax updates each year, and 85% of the people don't even itemize.
Yeah.
They get a W-2, 1099s, things like that. But the bill, and again, not to get political on it, there were a lot of things that were about to sunset that were going to be very harmful, in my mind, to the economy.
Sure.
And the big beautiful bill, wonder where the name came from.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
I can't figure that out. It reinstated some things, took some things from a 60% level to 100%, but it increased standard deductions, increased the child tax credit a couple $100. And I've got some notes because I didn't want to veer off and miss a number. One that's really very interesting to me, and Georgia and the federal law, address these things, is adoption credits. They used to not be what they called a refundable credit, but now they are for certain people.
Okay.
So certain people can get $5,000 of tax back over and above what they paid if they adopted a child.
Okay.
And I'm a huge believer in life.
Yeah.
And even in Georgia, if you have a child in the womb on December 31st, you claim a dependency deduction,
which
is pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
So there are a lot of things out there, but again, raise the child tax credit a couple $100, and you sent back. Now the Danes had 5 kids.
Sure.
$200 times 5, let's say that's $1,000.
Sure.
My math works that
Sure.
way. Then when you get to be 64 years old, you go, well, that's only a couple $100 a person. But you start adding that together, standard deduction went up a little bit, and tax rates subject to inflation. I mean, so somebody may get an extra $500, $600, $700, and that can make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
So now, and obviously in our firm, we do a lot of huge corporate stuff, whether it's C corps, S corps. That's where the real money is.
Sure.
And obviously when you hear some political cackling, well, you're just helping the big business. Well, guess what? People work for big business.
That's right.
And when people go to Walmart, if big business pays more taxes, they're going to charge you more.
That's right.
So there's just a lot of things that trickle through in the big beautiful bill, and we're what thrills an accountant? It's a pretty exciting lifestyle. I mean, I got to admit it. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Is you go to bed at night knowing you just save some money by not paying the taxes that have to be paid. So while it doesn't seem like a thrilling thing, I mean, if we can just, some people we nibble away at the cookie, and some we break it in half. It just depends on what's going on.
Sure.
But then one of the big deals, this one, again, you may rein me in a little bit, but
no, you're great,
and that's fine. Trump ran and said he's going to eliminate tax on Social Security. Well, when you go through the reconciliation process, you've got all these triggers. You've got to balance the savings with the spend and all those kind of things. But I'm a real simple guy. Get rid of the tax on Social Security. Just get rid of it.
Sure.
And while they did not get that accomplished, they did increase that. Well, they gave each senior a $6,000 deduction. So if you got a married couple, that's $12,000. And again, if you're in the 20% bracket, that's $2,400.
Yeah. Is that on top of the standard deduction?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is. And in fact, and it doesn't depend on whether you draw on Social Security or not. None of those things. You just I can't remember. 65.
Okay.
Now, I'm not quite there, but I'll be there soon. You know what I mean? But I mean that's money. But again, the rumblings we heard was he couldn't get the full tax-free Social Security, but he'll come back for another bite at the apple. And any bite at the apple that reduces taxes, we're all for.
Sure.
You know, so I'm trying.
Tell me about like the no tax on tips.
Yeah,
no
man,
tax
that's
on
a big deal. That's a big deal. A lot of times you hear, if you just listen to the press, you don't get the real details of what's going on.
Sure.
But tip income, the lesser of $25,000 are your tip income. Now there are obviously there's some rules. It phases out between on a single return at $150,000. It starts phasing out. Now generally what you'll find is people that have tip income are not going to be they're not going to be in the $300,000 range.
Sure.
But if they are,
sure.
or if they work overtime, you know, there's some things there. But one thing, they have to be voluntary tips. So if you go to dinner with 10 people and they add on to the bill, that's not a voluntary tip. So
how are they keeping up with all that?
They're never going to be able to.
Yeah, I know, that seems like a nightmare.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
They just create administrative nightmare for employers, and we don't see folks being able to comply fully with that. You know, you may, at the end of the day, tally up tips. I'm sure, you know, the accounting records or something will be set up to where if it's an automatic tip.
Sure.
But how much of it was yours? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So you got that. There are certain workers that are excluded. Now, being an accountant, we're going, you know what, this will work out pretty good. We're going to not charge to do tax returns. We're just going to get tips. You know, and they go, no, you can't do that.
Sure.
You can't do that.
Sure.
So I think there's like 75 or 80 work categories.
Gotcha.
You know, but you know, hair salons, nail salons, people that wait tables, you know, park cars, you know, at a hotel. I mean, those kind of things, they're all going to qualify. But but anything that's set up to more or less get around that rule, they're going to prohibit that. And then on the overtime, on a single return, you could exclude up to $12,500 and $25,000 on a joint return. But one thing, say a lady makes $20 an hour.
So when they say no tax on overtime, that's true up to $12,500.
That's right, for a single person. But here's the other part. If somebody makes $20 an hour, an overtime premium is $10. So when they're working overtime, they make $30. Well, the only part that's tax free is the extra $10.
Gotcha.
So you know, they're big on smoke and mirrors and telling you things.
Sure.
And I'm just an old simple guy.
Sure.
Just tell me the facts and let me go with it. So it's not all overtime. But you know, I'm here. Listen.
But something's better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a couple, and the husband waits tables, and the wife works somewhere with overtime, pretty soon you can accumulate $30,000-$40,000 tax-free income. And if you got a couple kids, you get a couple more. I mean, it you know, again, so it can change the landscape for some families.
Sure.
And but in my world, you just want more. Just give me more tax savings.
Sure.
How much is enough? There's never enough.
Yeah.
You know, just cut them. There's one thing you and I discussed was the state and local tax. You know, it was limited to where you could only deduct $10,000. Well, they've changed that. It's $20,000 on a single return or married filing separate return and $40,000 on a joint return. Well, there were a lot of people that did not itemize because their biggest deduction was state income tax. Well, if it's limited to $10,000 and you have some home mortgage interest, some contributions, you can't deduct your medical, you don't meet the limits, couldn't itemize, well, all of a sudden, I can throw 40 in there.
Sure.
And now a lot of people don't pay that much in tax, but and that was obviously a political compromise with, you know, northeastern states and things like that. I actually have a chart on here on some of the property tax rates and some things like that. deductions for interest on new cars. Pretty interesting.
But not on used cars.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. It has to be brand new, and the loan had to be originated in 25 or after.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but that, and you go to the car dealership. Again, I'm not downplaying the deduction, but the key is that the interest in the overall scheme of things is not a huge number.
Sure.
But all he's trying to do is just promote, people buying a little bit and it's $10,000 is the limit. Now, if you pay $10,000, you got a pretty nice car. You know what I mean? There you go. That's right. Trying to see, and the IRS is saying, hey, refunds are going to be bigger this year, and they will be. Again, you go back to that couple that's got some overtime or has tip income, they got a couple kids, their refund should be a little bit higher.
Sure.
But it also depends on how much tax you paid in.
Yeah.
I can make your refund anything you want it to be.
That's right.
If you want to pay in a lot of money.
Sure.
But the good news is it should put some money in people's pockets. But we'll start hearing March and April, you start hearing stats and people going, hey, I thought it would be more, or I'm happy it's more. So we'll start getting some feedback.
Yeah.
See how that goes.
Well, and you hit on how much tax gets taken out.
Yeah.
What's do you have like a general W-4, G-4 thing you would tell people? Meaning, I think most people do their new hire paperwork when they go to work.
They do.
They fill it out and they never look at it again.
That's right. There's some things to be really careful about. If you're working two jobs, that can be a disaster because you could work two jobs for $30,000 and each job says, well, they only make $30,000, so I don't have to withhold any tax. You put them together and they make $60,000 and all of a sudden I owe $7,000. Where am I going to get the money?
Sure.
The other thing the IRS did naturally is took what we thought was a great W-4 form and just completely hacked it up.
Yeah.
It makes it very, very difficult for us to adjust withholdings.
Sure.
That's the easiest way to put it. We used to could get a form, look it up, hey, you're going to withhold $200 a week, but we need it to be $300. There was just a blank, just write it in.
Yeah.
And oh man, you'd have thought the world was coming to an end.
Sure.
And so now you got to jump through a few more hoops in order to increase the withholdings. But we're pretty adamant about not paying into. Now we have some people. Particularly elderly couples, I'll sit down and go, listen, you're paying Georgia income tax, or you're having Georgia income tax withheld. You're never going to owe him. They go, well, let me tell you something, son. We take that money every year and go on a cruise. And I go, okay, I get it.
Sure.
I get it.
Yeah.
Can I go?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. They said,
it's an interest-free savings account, I guess, but you're not getting interest on it.
And they tell me as soon as you mail in your AARP card, you can go on the cruise with us.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So a lot of people use that as a savings account, and if that's it, that's fine.
Sure.
And we do.
But it is basically an interest-free loan to the government.
It is.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be an involuntary lender.
Sure.
Like that. But Georgia has their own version. Georgia's actually a little better. Georgia, you say this is one spouse working or two. Well, that's a great question.
Sure.
Well, the federal government, but again, once you get in a certain income level, the rate brackets are huge. So if they get up to where they're withholding 15%, you're going to be in that bracket for a long time. So the likelihood of a big miss is pretty slim.
Yeah.
Pretty slim. But again, you go back to, let's simplify things, and they change the W-4, and we're looking at it going, how do you fill the thing out?
Sure.
After having done it for years.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anything else on the big, beautiful bill, or you want to move on to Georgia income tax?
Well, again, on the corporate side, that's where the real money is. And just to give you an example, if somebody had bought a piece of equipment in I talk in different years. Sure. Because we're in 26, but we talk about 25 because we're doing 25
sure.
returns. In 24, if you'd have bought a piece of equipment, you'd get to deduct 80%. 25 is headed to 60%. Well, you can deduct 100%. The law reinstated something that was going to sunset 20% a year for several years.
Gotcha.
And again, well, that's big business. Well, if a construction contractor needs to go buy a dump truck, that's a lot of money. If he can deduct or she can deduct 100% of it. Well, if somebody sold them the truck, somebody works on the truck, somebody built the truck.
Yeah.
So in our world, our client knows better what to do with the money than the government does.
Sure.
So if he or she can go spend that money, that's a much better option than the government trying to decide how to spend it.
Sure.
That was big. There's one in Georgia called a pass-through entity tax, which is it's a workaround on the SALT limit. It gets a little complicated, but we sit down with all the clients, and if somebody makes big money and their state income tax would be $100,000, well, you're only going to get to deduct 40. But there is a way around it through the pass-through entity tax. And the one of the things we do is, as they're penciling up bills, the House will pencil it up and we'll read it. And I don't mean read it, read a summary.
Sure.
That services provide to us. The Senate passes a version. We'll read it, and you kind of see where the competing interests are. Some wanted the SALT limit gone. Some wanted it $10,000. But one thing they both talked about was getting rid of the pass-through entity tax deduction. And at the end of the day, it stayed in. So there were a lot of things that would go, hey, that thing did survive. So, I'm trying to see nothing else. That's kind of a high-end look. They made permanent state exemption. Some estate, it was scheduled to roll back down to around $6 million of tax-free estate. So a couple with a $12 million net worth, and 90% of the people, that's not a problem. I mean, 95, 100, whatever.
Sure.
But they raised that to $15 million, or made permanent $15 million. And, you can have a family farm in the Midwest and own a bunch of dirt, and it's worth $30 million. Well, now it's tax-free. But in order, if it went back to $12 million, then the kids have to sell part of the farm just to keep operating, just to pay estate tax. And that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And again, even in our clients, we probably have, 1,500, 2,000 clients. It's very few.
Sure.
Very few. But we do keep up with it and track it. And again, if it means the government gets less money, we're for it.
Sure.
We're all for it.
Yeah.
So those are some of the bigger picture items that come into play. But it provides jobs. I mean, for instance, the construction industry is huge. Huge. If they're building roads and bridges and building buildings, they employ all kind of people.
Yeah.
So let's help them succeed by lowering their tax burden and incentivize them going and buying things.
Sure.
Yeah. So.
Love that.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Georgia. What's happening in Georgia? Been seeing a lot of buzz around state income tax and us competing with Florida and Tennessee and different ones.
First thing you have to understand is this election. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of them running are just.
That's this year, right? 2026 is an election cycle?
Yeah. Kemp's finishing up and has done a good job. But a lot of people running are going, well, we're just going to do away with the state income tax. Or even in Florida, they're talking about doing away with property taxes. But we'll kind of go through some of that. Yeah. But in the state of Georgia, state income taxes are $16 billion. Okay. So let's do away with it. Now, redneck math here, let's just cut spending $16 billion and we're good.
Sure.
Well, no. We're not going to cut spending.
Yeah.
So now we have to go hunting money. We got to go find it. So some of the things they've talked about, there are private school credits to really scale those back, hospital credits, filmmaker credits.
Oh, so they're planning on scaling back
those credits. Because
I know like I do the private school one for CCA, and it's oversubscribed every year.
Exactly. But what they call that special interest groups. Well, there's another way to get there, and that's with school vouchers, which we can talk about that too.
Sure.
But so there are what they want to do is cut back on other tax incentives.
Yeah.
Okay. So if they're going to do away with the income tax, then all of a sudden you got CCA that's not going to get some money. Mm-hmm. So now we've got to address that in some other way.
Now, and you may not know, $16 billion is the tax. What's the total? Like, do you know what Georgia's total budget is?
I think it's 35 billion dollars, something like that.
So, now we got the state income tax is a lot.
Yeah, we've got a $15 billion exit,
right.
Like slush fund.
Yeah.
No, that's not.
They keep mailing the checks.
That's right. And the question is, what is Kemp going to do with it?
Yeah.
And again, I'll tell you what I've heard, and then you can kind of take it with a grain of salt, I guess.
Sure.
But if you look, Tennessee and Florida, we're competing with them. They have no income tax. Now, our state sales tax is 4%, Florida's is 6%, and Tennessee's 7%.
4% state, 4% local.
That's right.
For Georgia.
That's right. So a lot of states don't have a income tax, but they have higher sales tax. But I didn't calculate anything.
Sure.
But say we have a single mom with a couple kids makes $30,000. Well, in Georgia, she pays very little income tax. Well, now we're not going to pay income tax, but we're going to increase the sales tax.
Yeah.
So she goes buys formula, diapers, food, clothes. I mean,
her tax bill just went up.
She just got hoodooed. Mm-hmm. That's what I mean. So we generally don't. When their lips are moving, we go, I don't get it. But
sure.
And then again, I have a chart.
So we really don't know if they're going to get rid of it or not. At this point, it's just
it's being scaled back.
Points.
Yeah, it's being scaled back. It's going to go to 4.99%, and I think that'll happen. And that's probably prudent. I mean, it probably makes some sense.
Sure.
But I'll tell you one other thing. And again, some of the numbers I use are not to imply that everybody's got a $500,000 house. It's just to give impact. I looked in Valdosta, Georgia. If you had a $500,000 house, your tax is $2,050. In New York City, it's $8,200.
Wow.
Chicago, $6,900. San Francisco, $6,000. Daytona Beach, $3,900. Twice in Florida. Well, why is that? They don't have an income tax. Mm. So the government's addicted to money, and they never going to live off of less. Sure. They don't know how.
Sure.
And unfortunately, we're the ones that pay it. So I hear what they're saying, and I hear they want to target, people make it less than $50,000. I'm all for every bit of that. But if you're going to turn around and make it up somewhere else, let's figure out where before we go cutting taxes. So you got a lot of people just running for office and therefore making promises that they can't deliver on.
Yeah.
And I think that's, whether they cut the income tax or not, that's pretty much both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats that oppose it are going, hold on now. I don't know, but what they're, they do have a $15 billion surplus that they have banked, and that's helping roll back some costs on. In other words, they can scale back the income tax because we've got some money to lean on.
Sure.
A lot of people getting $500 checks. A lot of that's going on. But we were in an update not long ago. The hot button items right now with the state are health care, which we can get on down in here and talk a little bit about me volunteering with the hospital down in our area. Rural hospitals in particular. I mean, you've got one here. I mean, they're suffering. They're really suffering. Education. That's a pet peeve of mine.
Sure.
How do we make Georgia more competitive in the market? And clearly education part of it.
Sure.
So we need great outcomes in school. Well, how do you do that? This is from 2019, years ago, that the average spend per student in the U.S. was $16,000. In Japan, it's $10,000. South Korea's $12,000. India is like $1,300. and all their scores are way better than ours. It's not a money issue. And just like when we call the IRS, we have to deal with the bureaucracy.
Sure.
And I'm all for putting money in the classroom with the teachers, and if they have good outcomes, pay them. But whenever they talk about education reform, I mean, don't create 4 or 5 more jobs in the superintendent's office.
Sure.
Put the money in the classroom.
Sure.
And let's get some kids really educated, and don't lower the bars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Raise the teaching standards and do a good job there. Let's see. Now, one thing's coming, and it won't impact people's returns until 2027. There is an education credit, $1,700 on a single return and $3,400 on a joint return, that you and I can direct $3,400 to schools. And the federal government, one of Trump's goals is to back away from the education department, which I think would certainly be a good move, and take some of that money and put it directly into the system. So that'll be interesting.
So is that that's like a baby version of what I do with CCA
exactly.
through GASO?
It's a tax credit.
Okay.
That's right. See, you've got different limits with the Georgia SSO, whether some are 2,500, some are 5,000, 10,000, even flow communities have 25,000. This is only $3,400. But one of my fears is if people start contributing $3,400 to the federal program, are they then going to back off on what they're doing locally for
Gotcha.
Georgia? Even though theoretically they're all credits, it's all money that you can either, if somebody gives me the opportunity to send money to the government or send it to a credit, I'm sending it to a credit program every time.
Yeah, well, because when we talk about it at CCA, it's just like, it's not that complicated. It's either send it to the state of Georgia or send it to a private school.
That's right. Flip a coin. It's going to land on the same side every time for me.
And I'm hearing you say there's potentially a federal program coming similar to that.
But what we don't want to happen is the federal program comes with strings.
Yeah.
Now you got to do this or that. Just stay out of the way.
Yeah.
Stay out of our life.
Yeah.
Let us go.
Because like GASO doesn't help on the federal at all.
No,
it's just my Georgia state. So if there was federal, then you could do both.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Interesting.
But a couple other things that in our update that are really going to be hot button items, and they don't necessarily have to do with taxes. Maybe they do, but gambling is a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, I don't gamble. I'm not smart enough to figure it out.
Sure.
But there's a big push to open up, gambling in the state.
Yeah.
But that's just an agenda item. The other one, and I really didn't think about it until they mentioned it, and we kind of went through some stats, are ports. The ports to Georgia are huge.
Sure.
Have a huge economic impact. And so, to go dredge out a waterway to make it deeper to accommodate bigger ships and all, it costs a bunch of money. But the fees that come in from it and the jobs and all are just tremendous. But again, you got an election year, so generally speaking, I just
see what happens this time next year.
Yeah.
After the elections are over.
And you know what? I mean, I hate to even say this. Name recognition. Who's running? I don't know.
Sure.
So they're both Republicans and the Democrats are going to have a tough time getting a candidate out there that the name is immediately recognized. So they're going to have to do some work, spend some money. But
sure,
that's one of the oldest professions in the world.
That's right.
Just leave it at that.
That's
right?
exactly right.
That's right.
That's exactly
right. Yeah. So, but that's the Georgia update.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, like I have a CPA. Obviously, you're a CPA. You said you had 1,500, 2,000 clients in y'all's firms.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people use TurboTax and stuff like that.
Yep.
When does it make sense? Is it an income number? Is it, no, you never should use that. You should always have a tax
person.
What do you think about that?
Ironically, the company that produces TurboTax produces our program. Now you can go to Walmart and buy TurboTax for whatever $200-300, and
Sure.
we pay $35,000 for ours.
Sure.
Why? I'm not sure yet. you
Sure,
know?
sure.
But the theory is ours is connected to the research and all the things we do, and can handle a huge volume of transaction, whereas TurboTax is somewhat limited. But in our particular case, we try to price returns such that people that don't need to be using us are not willing to pay what it would cost, because we just think it's highway robbery.
Sure.
If someone's uncomfortable doing it, we can help. If somebody feels better about a CPA signing their return, like it's some kind of audit insurance, we can help with that. In other words, if you're buying insurance, we're fine. You just need to understand that's what you're doing. You do the return, we do the return, it's going to be the same. Why would you pay us? But we had, as things become more complicated and there needs to be more planning or any planning, that's when we need to get involved. If it's nothing more than painting history, you can go anywhere and they can paint history. But I had a call. They're actually in South Carolina, professional practice, and said, I just met them somewhere. Hey, we may want you to do our return. Well, the first thing is like, if you're happy up there, we don't want our clients leaving if they're happy.
Sure.
And unless there's some particular reason, he said, well, let me send you my return and we'll go through it, see if you can find anything. Well, somebody can go through a return, I do to find something.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, but we went through it and found a couple things. And but our first advice is go right back to your preparer. Just take these and go back and say, let's change the return and change the way we're doing it going forward. And as it turns out, we are going to do the return. But so we only want to be involved to help. And the worst thing we can do is pass somebody at a restaurant and, you know, we've charged them X amount of dollars to do a return, and they sit down with some friends and go, well, that's the dude that charged me X number of dollars to do my return, and really it didn't help me.
Sure.
You know, so anytime we talk about a tax return, we talk about a cost-benefit relationship. And I mean, it's same in your business. And but just like the guy in South Carolina, there were a couple things. One, anytime you build a new building, there's what they call cost segs, where you go in and divide. The building itself, for a commercial building like this, is 39-year depreciable property, but the parking lot is 15 years. Well, you need to carve out the parking lot. Interior walls are different. There's a lot of things you can do, and the goal of it is to create deductions up front so you'll go spend that money. If you'll go spend the money, then the government will be waiting 3 or 4 years from now, because
Sure.
now all of a sudden you're making more money.
Sure.
So they get their cut, you know, but it's just to promote growth. And but there were a couple things like that we're able to look at on return and say, well, here's the approach we would take.
Yeah.
But we have all kind of people call and want us to do their return, and we want to do everybody's return, but there needs to be a cost-benefit relationship to it. So generally what we'll do is invite them in for a meeting. Now, a lot of them will cut them off on the phone, because we realize they're either fishing for a price or, you know, any of those kind of things. But we'll sit down and just find out if it's a good fit. And if a person comes and I meet with them and we're their fourth CPA in 4 years and all the other 3 are morons,
Yeah.
there's one common denominator here,
Sure.
and it's that person.
Sure.
So we generally,
Sure.
you know, convince them they need to go somewhere else. And if pricing is a big deal, there are great folks out there to do it a lot cheaper. That's not the issue, because what we want to do, whatever we charge you, we want to get it back in multiples. And if we charge you $500 and you don't save anything, why are you doing it anyway?
Sure.
And unless it's free insurance.
Yeah.
You know, so But what we do not want to do is just paint history. We want to look in the future and change. You got a tax year. We spend all of November and December going, hey, send us some information. Let's figure out what your tax liability is going to be. And they send it. And most of this is driven from the business side. And when they do, we're like, listen, you're fixing to get hammered. But now we got 60 days to go buy equipment or to do some things.
Sure.
And during COVID, you tell somebody you need to go buy 3 loaders. The first question is, do you need anything? Yeah, well, we're going to buy something in March. Mm-hmm. Don't buy it March, buy it December.
Sure.
And then during COVID, you couldn't get your hands on things.
Yeah.
So it got really crazy where we were struggling to plan. And now the lead time on certain assets are still pretty long.
Yeah.
But, all we can do is arm people with good information and let them make decisions. They're clearly good business people because they're making money.
Sure.
So they're pretty smart. Just give me some facts, and then they can go decide what they want to do. Now,
sure.
The other thing we tell a lot of people is, I'm just purely making up numbers. Somebody makes $1 million and they come and meet and say, well, you're going to pay $400,000 tax. Well, I don't want to pay $400,000 tax. Several things. When I don't know what to tell you, that's the first one. Number 2, you could pay me $1 million.
Yeah.
And then you get a deduction, and they go, well, why would I do that? Because you don't want to pay $400,000 tax.
Sure.
How much sense does that make? That's dumb.
Yeah.
Don't pay me $1 million. But we also tell them the only meeting tougher than meeting with you and tell you owe $400,000 is the meeting to tell you your company's going broke.
Mm-hmm.
So be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, that's right.
So we have to, a lot of I don't know if you ever bowl. If you bowl with me, some balls go in the gutter on the left and some on the right, and I'm constantly trying to get it in the middle, and that's the way we operate with taxes. Sometimes you tap it too far this way and tap it, but all we're trying to do is know what the return's going to look like. And in my world or my partner's worlds at the office, we don't do many returns, almost none. But when it hits my desk, I know if it's wrong because I've already talked to the client and said, here's everything you've got going on.
Sure.
Now, there are times you get bad information. So, I owe more money than we thought. And then you start to, did I forget to tell you I sold that? Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah.
Since you owe more money than I thought you did.
Sure.
But likewise, somebody return hits my desk and the tax is way lower. I'm like, we're missing something. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what, I guess, if you took, let's see, between the 4 partners there's probably 150 years of public accounting experience. So, and we learn every day. I worked with a guy many years ago, and I said, when are you going to retire? And he said, the first day I don't learn something. And I'm a young guy, going to kill the world. And I'm like, that's bull.
Yeah.
You kidding? Well, now I go to work going, man, I want to learn something today, something new, something fun.
Yeah.
Listen, just sitting around with you, I know it's thrilling to you to talk tax law. Man, this is big.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
It's usually not a conversation starter.
Yeah. But it's an important topic.
It is.
Very important topic.
It is, and it's a huge stewardship issue.
Yeah.
Whenever we were talking before this, we don't, there's very, very, very few things we do for a few $100s. It just, so we try to start at a level where if my kids' returns, by and large, you can do them in 10 minutes and they can do them in 15.
Sure.
So they don't need to be paying their hard-earned money to us.
Sure.
So if you set the bar at some level, hopefully you won't take people's money for doing something that they can do equally as well, and particularly in the internet age and TurboTax and AI.
Yeah. Well, and you used the word stewardship earlier. Kind of talk about that for a second around, that's an interesting perspective of obviously doing nothing that's illegal, unethical, or immoral.
That's right.
We've covered that. But if we're in those confines, paying as little tax as possible, so that we can be better stewards.
Absolutely.
And share, like, I know you mentioned you volunteer at the hospital, what does that look like?
At the hospital, and just the backstory on that. I have a son, he's a tax CPA with me. Years ago, he got incredibly sick in a hurry. And so he ended up in South Georgia Medical Center, and they saved his life. I mean, Neil Myers' family, Dr. Greg Bill, pulmonologist, Dr. Bill Tidmore, and the hospitalist there. I mean, it was moving in a bad direction in a hurry. And I'll kind of put some meat on the bone. So naturally, in the way we work in our house is my bride is a spiritual giant, so she immediately just went into prayer mode. Well, generally what a man's going to do is just get busy. So I'm contacting doctors, working through the hospital. Do we need to go to Emory? What do we need to do? And so had a great conversation with Bill Tidmore, rheumatologist. And when they finally made the diagnosis, you start finding out very, very few people deal with this. And then Bill Tidmore says, my roommate from college is at Johns Hopkins, and he's the leading expert on this in the country.
Wow.
And you back up and go, okay, God, I get it. I know why I'm here. I'm not at Emory. I'm not at Shands. I'm not somewhere else. But through that whole process, you drive away understanding how huge a hospital is for a community.
Sure.
And at the time, I guess maybe on the board or administrators of the hospital, there were probably 10 people in the room, and 3 or 4 of them were clients. And they had somebody rolling off the board, and they said, would you serve? Oh boy. Yeah, I said, yeah, I will. I didn't realize what a commitment it was. Mm-hmm. Through good times and bad.
Sure.
A lot of hours, a lot of time. But I can tell you, when I pull up that hospital, I know for a fact my son, that they saved his life.
That's amazing.
That's all I need to know.
That's right.
So during that time, I'm like, all right, Lord, do I need to get involved at the hospital? He says, yes. Okay. So 10 years later, here I am.
Yeah.
And you walk into a room, a board meeting at the hospital. I understand numbers. I don't understand all of them in a hospital environment, but I understand numbers. The part I had to learn is patient care. It's safety and all those things. We had a board meeting this morning, and I may steal some thunder for, whatever's going to be in the paper or whatever. But each meeting they point out somebody in the hospital that just had amazing impact on somebody. If you hadn't been there, we have a coffee bar in the lobby. And one of the baristas there makes people's coffee in the morning. For people like me from South Georgia, what's a barista again?
Sure, yeah.
It just so happens my daughter's worked at, the Eliano's Red Owl type setups. But a family came in, and it was Christmas Eve, and the mother was in kidney failure at the hospital. Daughter apparently came in from out of town, went down to get a coffee, and was struggling.
Sure.
Just struggling. Had to run in there. Mom's not doing well. Things going on. And then she got real emotional because she left without a present for her mom that she had back home. So a barista, the girl left. She said, I'm about to cure this. So she shopped and got a present for Mom with her own money.
Wow.
And went and found those people in the hospital. So she had a gift for Mom.
I love that.
On Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, they formed a relationship, and she's checked in on her. Mom's kidney function is way better. Things are better. But whenever you have people working there that care about folks, the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, that's right.
And we do. We talked about on the Georgia law changes, healthcare is a big, big area. Find me somebody that goes to the hospital and gets a bill and goes, man, that was a great deal.
Yeah, that exists.
They're not there.
Yeah.
They're not there. And man, they want to just raise Cain. It costs too much. It does this. It does this. Well, my son, one bag of IV for what he was doing was $14,000.
Wow.
It's not the hospital.
Sure.
And if it's $14,000, we're gonna pay $14,000.
Yeah.
I mean, but also you hear all the griping on the doctor side. Man, they make too much money. I've done some doctors' tax returns for 10 years, and they make the same money today that they made 10 years ago. And I don't. We adjust our fees.
Sure.
Well, they adjust their fees, and the insurance companies roll back what they'll reimburse them. And the federal government creates inflation, 7, 8, 9%, and they'll raise reimbursement rates to the hospital 2%. You're going, this formula can't last long.
Sure.
So it's a very, very complicated environment. But I've learned so much about the interplay of the market, insurance markets. Sure. Medicare Advantage. The government wants to offload Medicare, and then they'll allow a company to write a policy, and then they find out they're out there cheating, going by somebody's house, billing them for 10 tests when they've only done one. Yeah. Well, the integrity of the medical practices, we don't do that. We can't do it. We get locked in jail. Yeah. For doing it in a hospital environment. So, so many times hospitals take the brunt of the negativity. But I'm gonna tell you now, when 99.9% of the people walk out the front door, there's nothing negative about that. Sure. And my family member included. But I've learned a lot, formed a lot of relationships. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. We're pretty busy at the office right now. I had meetings yesterday at the hospital, had meetings today, and you go, oh no, we got a meeting again. Then you go to the meeting and find out about the barista, and you go, hold on now. Sure. That's what this is about. Sure. And I think just from a faith perspective, this story's not about me. Sure. It's not about you. It's about him. That's right. And where does that girl get that? To just love people. Yeah. It's amazing. And when you see it just changed somebody's life. Yeah. And so serving, listen, you don't get a lot of that. The board doesn't get a lot of pats on the back. Mostly kicks in the pants. Sure. Yeah. You go to church and let me tell you what happened. Yeah. No, man, there's got to be something good in this story. Sure. But I think you back all the way up. So work's very important. Tax law, that's just a way to make a living, and we try to preach in our firm that your faith and your family and your friends come ahead of this place. And when those get out of whack, it's a problem. Sure. It's a real problem. But you have to continue to reorient your list. You have to move things on your list. I let work, my wife will sit down and go, listen, buddy, you've just been absent. Well, no, I've been here a lot. She says, we're not communicating. Sure. Yeah. You're here, but you're not here. Yeah. And after being married 42 years, I've had a lot of training. Sure. I'm still learning. But
you want to learn every day, right? That's what you said.
That's exactly right. But I think, you go from 10 years ago, it'd just make you mad. And 5 years ago, it'll make you sad. And now you go, okay, well, let's figure this thing out. Sure. And so it's the same way at work. At work right now, we're W-2s, 1099s, just crazy. We're having to kind of convene and go, let's help each other. And then when we finish, let's figure out a way to do it better next year. Yeah. So you do that. And so you take working, but if you got friends, that's the way you do relationships or your family. But even in your faith, I'm 64. and I got saved as a young adult. Had 2 kids, married, having Bible studies at my house.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But man, I was doing stuff.
Yeah.
And God's like, that's great.
Sure.
It's not about what you do.
Yeah.
It's about what I did.
That's exactly
you know, and so he finally got my attention. But then it's just a continual path of growing, learning. And we were raised, and particularly an accountant is bent to be very legalistic.
Sure.
If I can't figure it out, you know, I'm gonna figure everything out.
Sure.
Well, and so for many years, God sat there and said, as soon as you're done trying to figure it out,
Yeah.
I can get to you.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So the one thing I've learned, and have a great friend, this is my pastor, but he takes me to lunch, and the one thing he'll do is you'll say something and he'll go, hey, nah, that's bull. Who, me?
Yeah,
You're kidding.
Yeah.
But once you realize how much God loves you,
Yeah.
the rest of it pales. You know, and God's not a legalist, but Satan is.
Sure.
You know what I mean? God, we slip up, Satan wants to remind you, and God goes, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about it, and I just don't remember it. But so the hard thing for me is I want to figure everything out, and I want to control everything.
Sure.
You know, a CPA in industry, they call them a controller. Wonder where they get that term from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they think they're controlling something, but they're not. You're not controlling it. But I think just to lay hold of how much God loves us, and then you're clearly the senior guy in the building. It becomes, it's about work, but it's about fathering and pastoring and ministering, and whether it's a client or whether it's an employee or employee's child sick, I mean, it's all those kind of things.
Sure.
And so, you know, if you're going to go to work and leave your faith at home, you're going to fail.
That's right.
You know, and the other thing I had to learn, and I don't even know what I have in my notes. I just get rolling on this kind of stuff.
I love it. So good.
Yeah, no, I was played ball growing up, and that's when there was real peace in our house growing up. Is when I had ball games and things, and at Valdosta we were very successful in that environment. But I did not learn so much about being married, about being a parent.
Sure.
You know, all this. Now my parents loved me, but they came through a tough time, and we didn't have much money. We didn't go lacking or anything. But whenever you're performance oriented,
Yeah.
I'm going to win at all cost. And then we're not going to lack. And the next thing you know, that's the way you work.
Yeah.
And that's the way you try to raise a family.
Sure.
And then, you know, I'm 40 something years into this business. With 20 or 25 years, you go, this isn't working too well.
Sure.
You know, and of course you got a wife. She's going, about time you get it, dude.
Yeah, sure.
She's light years ahead of me.
Sure.
And we had a Bible study the other night. Well, no, it wasn't a Bible study, but at church. And 7 men got up and either gave a testimony, expressed, or just shared stuff. But that's what realized 90% of the time it's all ladies, because they're relational. They want a relationship.
Yeah.
And when guys can form relationships, get accountability, hold each other accountable. We got a text message group, you know, hey, pray for this, do this. Then all of a sudden you're investing in other people's lives, and it doesn't matter if that's business or faith. It all works the same.
That's
way.
right.
As if my kids were struggling with somebody at work or a professor or something, we're just big on saying, I tell you what, you pray for them for a while. Why in the world would I do that?
Yeah.
Because if you do, your perspective's going to change.
Yeah.
And in that, Coach Hatter was my high school football coach, and I remember even back then, he was a Christian coach, and some people, he's a Christian coach, all that Christian stuff.
Sure.
And of course, we were whipping everybody. That was, and don't make us mad, or we'll beat you even worse. You know?
Sure.
No,
Yeah.
But he, I think they had like a regional interview of the coaches, and they all got up, said a few things, and I think, if I recall correctly, Hyder maybe was kind of leaving the podium, and one of the reporters said, made some snarky comment about being a Christian, and he just went back and said that being a Christian is not weakness, but it's meekness, and meekness is power under control.
Yeah.
And that's what our football team is. We're power under control.
Sure.
And that's what we are.
That's right.
Believers. We got all kind of power.
Sure.
If we just understand it.
Yeah.
And one other thing, we, my wife and I went, and a lady was doing some teaching, and she, her grandfather was instrumental in starting a Christian church in Iran. And somebody gave him a Bible, and he just started reading it. That was it. But he didn't have a lot of people around to tell him, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? So he had to read the Bible and just rely on the Holy Spirit to tell him what it meant.
Sure.
And they've got the fastest growing Christian church in the world.
Wow.
Just because he just read it.
Yeah.
And said, hey, 2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah.
Is it really 4?
Sure.
What kind of interpretations does it need from me? It doesn't need a whole lot.
Sure.
So again, work-wise, whether it's the hospital, in the community, raising kids, working, anything, it's got to start with, at least in my world, my faith. And I get up in the morning. Some mornings I may spend an hour with him. Some mornings it's 5 minutes. It just depends. But he doesn't go, golly, you spent an hour yesterday.
Yeah.
That's not the way he operates.
That's right.
He loves us into wanting to hang out with
That's
him.
right.
And if we can promote that at the firm, at the hospital, in the community, the rest of it will take care of itself.
That's right. It's amazing.
Fun stuff.
It is, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always like to give space to have conversations like this. And then at the end, I always ask, hey, is there anything else on your mind?
Yeah.
You came prepared to share. I think you did.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing. I'll end with the last question. And I said, for someone listening who's been avoiding their finances and feeling overwhelmed, what's one thing they could do this week to take a step in the right direction?
Yeah, and the first thing you do is ask him what's going on.
Yeah.
There are things you contribute to, and there are things other people contribute to.
Sure.
But the way I operate, the enemy wants to take you out. He wants to steal, kill, and destroy you.
Sure.
And if he can take your kids, destroy your family, or steal your finances, he's got you.
Yeah.
And so the first thing, we deal a lot with marriages, conflicts, and it's all around money. Not every marriage struggles because of money, but I'm saying money often enters into it. And some people's lifestyle's just out of hand.
Sure.
And then now I'm not a God can bless us incredibly. He's money means nothing to him.
Sure.
So but they just need to sit down with him and go, what's up, and am I contributing to this? You know what? He may be saying, you need to change jobs. And if I'm a friend and I see them struggling and I go give them money, that's just putting off them changing jobs.
Sure.
So I have to be attuned to what's going on.
Sure.
And you have to. So as believers, we just all got to work together. But if you've got an accountability group and people you can talk to, but that's where it starts. But there are some simple principles in life. If you spend more than you make, it's going to be a problem. You know, I mean, and so many times the wants, you know, outpace the money coming in.
Sure.
But that goes back to a lot of times I want something so you'll think it's cool.
Yeah.
What is that?
Sure.
How is that? It goes back to your relationship with God. Men in general struggle with fear. Now,
Sure.
and if you go around the room and say, who struggles with fear? Nobody raise your hand. Well, then you go, well, now you're all liars because you all fear something.
Yeah, that's right.
And one of the biggest fears is financial failure.
Sure.
And so to provide for a family, to provide for when you get older,
Yeah.
so that you're not dependent on people.
Yeah.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, in fact, we need to be good stewards.
Sure.
But I think to manage our money right, it takes wisdom. We don't need to cheat. We don't need to steal. We need to give.
Yeah.
I think, you know, it goes back to the parables. If you make twice the money and you give twice the amount, you may make 4 times the money.
Yeah.
God, that's just God's kingdom. That's the way it works. And so we do encourage giving, and you got to start with going, hey, what's up? And then be quiet.
Yeah.
Let him talk to you.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of times people go, well, I don't hear from him, and I'm like, that's because you won't quit talking.
Yeah.
You know, so calm down, get in a quiet place, and when he tells you something, act on it.
Yeah.
And that's easy to preach.
Yeah.
It's easy to preach, hard to do.
For sure.
But that's usually where we want to start is what's really going on here? Take the scales off the eyes, like healing the blind man, the scales come off, you go, whoa boy, now I see it for what it is.
Sure.
And that's how you get there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this has been amazing.
Fun,
I know
man.
you're busy, you got a lot going on, so I appreciate you spending time with me this afternoon.
Glad to.
I know everybody listening is going to enjoy it as well. And again, thank you.
Got it, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
Thank
man.
you.
All right.
Well, hey guys, I appreciate you for tuning in another month. Keep doing life well, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Do Life Well podcast, where we explore topics like fatherhood, business, health, wellness, and so much more. With each episode, we aim to inspire and guide you in embracing the art of doing life well. If you found value in today's conversation, please leave us a review, subscribe, and share with your friends. Until next time, continue the journey of doing life well.